to another episode of Pixel Makers. I'm Scott, and in this episode, we're going to be reviewing or spoiler-free review of Star Wars Rogue One, and we'll be doing more of a spoiler review of Moana too. So, first, let's go ahead and get started with it. Rogue One spoiler-free review. So, I liked it. I thought it was a really fun show. In fact, let me get some of the visuals up here for you guys. There we go. And there we go. Now people can see sort of what's happening. I liked the movie. I thought it was a blast. It's had mixed reviews. A lot of people have said that they liked it. Some people said that they didn't like it. And I can see both reasonings. Honestly, real quick breakdown of what I thought of the movie. Its characters are not the strongest point, which unfortunately for Star Wars, that's a main portion. You know, the original characters were so memorable, and these ones definitely didn't feel nearly as memorable as the original cast, or even the cast from Force Awakens. The story was lacking in certain portions because of that, but still a very good story. Keep it general so it's not any spoilers here. But I think the most successful and parts of the movie, and the reason why this is still a good movie, is its scenes and its sets and its fill and like what makes the movie. And really it's a war movie. It's the most war movie like Star Wars movie. So I'll sort of go through some of the scenes here. This is an image of an area, but I put this up here because I wanted to really key in that it's an immersive world that they give you. They give you a real sense of openness. Everything feels like it lives. Everything in these environments feels like, yeah, I can see this being a real environment. Like, this is what I mean by it's the most warlike Star Wars movie. This does not look like a Star Wars movie. You know what I mean? It does because you see stormtroopers there, but this looks like Saving Private Ryan. You know what I mean? He's stormtroopers riding a tank and another one, holding a guy, looks like hostage. So, I mean, these are all images from the trailers and stuff, so, again, no spoilers here. But I really picked out this image because it's something that struck me as very important to what they were trying to get the feel of the movie like. They wanted it to feel gritty. They wanted it to feel warlike. They want the environments to be dark and the way that they lit. We'll go into the lighting in a little bit, too. This shot again. That looks like it's straight out of, Pearl Harbor. Is not a great movie, but it has that sort of feel of the airplane behind the people, the desaturated colors. Like I would never, in a million years, say that that's an image from a Star Wars movie, if I wasn't told. You know what I mean? So it really sets the mood. It really they really make you feel like you care about the world more so than like I said, than the characters, which is sort of a bad thing, but still very good. I liked it. I thought this was an amazing movie. This again looks very like greens and the stark black with the white, very Star Warsy, but just has that sense of realism that they never really hit on in a lot of the other movies, and I really enjoyed it. I thought that this was a fun movie because this is some behind the scenes stuff of the same area. I love all of the sets that they chose. It goes all over, and you really feel the expansiveness of the environments that they go to. When I first saw the poster, real quick, go back to the poster, I was like, beach? Star Wars? Like, this looks like what are the the stormtroopers bathing in the sun. It looks like they're gonna have volleyballs and stuff. You know what I mean? But obviously there's fighting in the background, and I think actually these beach scenes were some of the more successful portions. To get the fill down for the wartime movie. It's very bright and sunny, but in contrast to what you know, I think it's a great setup. Again, hugely vast areas. You know, you're watching these things, and as the movie unfolds, again, I'm not going to tell much about it. Um, you're like, wow, this is amazing. This is a great world. I want to live in this world. I want to see what's beyond those mountains. I want to, you know, walk through this town, and the towns have this sort of Morocco type of inspiration, but also has sort of like an Indian feel. Like I love the colors, the colors they just pop with the characters back there, the bright reds, whites and blacks. Even the character in the middle there with the stick, his outfit has, and we'll talk more about this when we get to costumes, but has sort of these highlights of red that I love. I thought that again it really sets you in the mood of the movie, sets you where they expect you to be, and they do it well. Um, this next area we're gonna go over design a little bit and costumes. So I just wanted to let everyone know I enjoyed the heck out of the feel of the movie, the mood of the movie, the tone of the movie. I thought those were great. Um, Designs were wonderful too. This is a robot. We won't talk too much about who it is or any of the roles, but I love this design. It feels Star Wars like, but it also doesn't. In fact, I have another image from a Studio Ghibli movie here, Castle in the Sky, and it doesn't it feel very similar, proportionary. I love the long legs and the long arms. I mean, not quite as long armed as the robot from Castle in the Sky, but these proportions are just really fun to look at. You know what I mean? Along with the color scheme of the black with the yellow and the Empire, you know, insignia on him and stuff. I think that this is a really strong looking character. You look at this versus C-3PO. I actually would choose this over C-3PO any day. I like C-3PO. I love the design of his arms and how they function with the little pistons. I think that's something that, as a designer, I've always admired from the Star Wars universe. But this guy just has an edge to him. He just and nothing about anything about the story or the character, but just straight from the design aspect, I like it. The head is almost verbatim the robot here, the head and the neck. So I thought it was really great. Again, going back to the war aspect of it, this if I saw that, I wouldn't immediately think that's Star Wars. I mean, the character looks like it comes from a Star Wars movie, but the olive drab, type of clothing, Desert Storm clothing, along with the gun feels very Star Wars, like a rifle, but it just the tone is more serious than most Star Wars movies. It does lack the romance that the original New Hope and Empire and Jedi had, but I think that they pair that up with a very much more serious tone and serious color scheme and serious lighting. This lighting is amazing. I love the sensibility of darks going really dark. Like by his head, I'll get my mouse here. You can see it. By his head here, you can see it goes all the way down into blacks, and then up into his face. You get that high contrast where, a real sense of value. I loved it. I think that the along pairing with, the whole set design, wonderful. I love these scenes. This is similar. This is deserty scenes, and I like how they treated those desert scenes. It was very different than the way that they treated it in New Hope. You look at something like New Hope, and a lot of the colors do seem washed out over the entire thing. This one, it gives you a real sense of value, and I enjoyed that a lot. I honestly can't say anything bad about this scene. This is cool, and not from the sense of like, oh yeah, it looks like a bad guy. From the sense of like, look at this. This looks like you know, what I'd imagine sci-fi hell is. You know what I mean? It's just like it has these robed guys. I forget their names of what these guards are. Um, but I love their design. They've been around for through all the movies, but this just sets the mood really well. And they had a little bit of this in Revenge of the Sith, um, but not like this. Not like and this is only one shot. The rest of this area has a lot of reds that highlight along with cool blues coming in from other areas, and it's this real sense of back and forth. I love it. I'm just gushing. I know that everyone's like, oh, come on, get to the funny, but this is great. This is great stuff. So sort of to recap, I watched it. I enjoyed the heck out of it. It's definitely not the best Star Wars, but it's definitely not the worst Star Wars. It's kind of right there in the middle. If you enjoy getting caught up in a world of, kind of more gritty, less fantasy and less romance, and more gritty story about war and how that can change things, then I think you'll love this movie. My wife, per se, she didn't like this movie very much, and I think that's partially why, because you assume that with Star Wars that you're going to have fantasy and romance, and with a little bit of lack, with a little bit of change, it definitely makes you feel different about Star Wars. Not bad, but different. It's definitely its own thing, and I like that they're going in another direction. With the Force Awakens, they sort of just kind of went back to New Hope. They did the exact same formula as New Hope. We're going to do cantina scene. We're going to do a desert scene. We're going to have a guy that guides the person and stuff, and eventually that person will fall. And so Force Awakens felt very much just beat by beat. We're redoing New Hope. This I can't compare to any of the other Star Wars movies at all. If I had to say a comparison closer to, I would say something closer to like a Saving Private Ryan. You know what I mean? Not in the sense of story, but again in the sense of mood and the scenes and seriousness. But it still has a fantasy color scheme. I mean, like the you would never see something in a war movie like. I mean, you would see some war movies like this, but I don't know. I just the sense of pop and the sense of design. I loved it. So. Moving onwards from Star Wars, we're going to go to Moana. This is an older movie. It came out a few weeks ago, I think a little over a month ago. But I wanted to talk about it because I didn't get a chance to talk about it when it came out. And I think it's worth mentioning. It's something that I think is a pretty good movie. This one I'll actually break down. I probably talked a little more about the other one, but hopefully no one feels any spoilers about that. But this one I will probably go a little more in detail about spoilers, and I'm not going to go over the story, so you're safe with that. It's gonna be mainly about the characters, the culture, the story, songs, those types of things. So getting into it, the culture. I loved the culture in this movie. I'm not Polynesian or Hawaiian or Tongan or anything like that, obviously. But I thought this movie really did that well. I've heard stories that they have gone, the directors and storymen went to on location to places and actually asked them about myths and legends, since this story is based around myths and legends, and they've picked a lot from their culture and wove it into a story. That being said, the story with the culture is thick, and I love it. I think it does a really great job. The story itself, I don't think is as strong as it could be, because it does feel like very much a legend. And legends are things that are open-ended, that don't have to have a beginning, middle, and end. They can be more all over the place, and this story is, because it is a legend. So in that sense, I don't think that the story was very successful in that. The other thing is Disney interjects its Disneyism to its story, and it's really nothing new. You know what I mean? And that's really the biggest problem. It's not the fact that it's a legend and it's open ended and that's difficult to get across. That's still really interesting. It's the fact that it goes back to the normal Disney tropes. It's very much like the Croods. You know, you can't leave the island because, you know, we've never left the island. You can't go out from under the rock in the Croods and then go out and venture because, you know, and the overbearing father figure with the, young, rebellious female lead. And it's like, it's been told over and over and over and over. That being said, I still liked it. I thought that the characters in this are awesome. All the culture, all the characters too. Even the dad, even though he's a very stereotypical, overbearing dad figure, he still has a lot of fun to his character. So I don't want to. I'm not tearing it down too much, but definitely when it comes to Maui and Moana, and even the ocean has its own character, and we'll delve into that a little bit too. Um, I love it. I think that they're full of fun and adventure, and everything about their characters makes me want to, you know, be riding right up along them on the boat, you know, and going through this journey. So that's honestly one of the strongest portions of this is the character. Even the small characters, there's these little coconut guys, and they come in and they're kind of just a little protagonist for Moana and Maui, and Maui is scared of them. He gets frightened by them, and there's these little guys, and she doesn't see the reason, but she goes head forth into it and sees how awful that they can be. But I think that was a fun aspect to all those characters, including the little coconut people, because all the little coconut people have their own characters. There's sort of like a leader, and there's all the, like, they have their different tasks and stuff. So for the scene, I thought that they were great. The villains, the crab villain was awesome. I loved when they went through the portal to the kind of underwater. It's like a physical. It's weird because the legend and the physicality of the world are combined, so you can just jump through this hole down into sort of like the underworld where monsters and creatures live, but it's also under the water. So I thought it was kind of fun that they made these enormous, crazy monsters out of what would actually be happening in the real world situation. So it was really fun to go on that adventure. I loved it. I liked the character design when they plopped down under the water and they were getting chased by creatures down there, and the creatures are eating. It definitely goes back to, again, it's old jokes, where the little fish eats the big fish type of thing. But it was still fun. I liked it a lot. Maui as a character was interesting. I think he doesn't necessarily develop. He does develop, and he does have definitely an arc, but he is kind of more of like, he's chauvinistic. I think it's just his attitude and what he can add to Moana's journey that really makes him the most interesting. In fact, I love that he leaves her at the beginning. He locks her in the cave and leaves her. It's like, well, wait a second. You're technically murdering her because she can't eat. I mean, she's not a god like you. She can't survive on this island with nothing. And so it's like that kind of arrogance, but I felt like he was bold in a way, and I like that. Moana's character was your generic Disney female lead, which is great. I think she did a great job, but on top of it, it was a little like, yeah, she needs to do this and do that to fulfill all the Disney tropes, and a little formulaic, but I liked it. I thought that again, what she learns from Maui about the tides and being able to navigate the oceans and stuff and become an adventurer of the seas, I think is great for her character. I like that she develops throughout and she ends up actually being the person that solves the problem in the end. Um, a little bit more about Maui. He has this little anthropomorphic change. He can change into different beasts. So he likes to change to this bird creature. I liked it. I thought the character design was still pretty cool. Um, going back to like another Disney movie, Zootopia, I felt like was a little too close to animals being like humans. Um, where at certain points it was kind of creepy, like the singing gazelle thing was a sort of weird creature. This I never felt like it was, and it sort of Zootopia sort of like tried to make animals like humans, and I sort of feel like furries really are gonna like that movie. This movie I don't think is really the same thing, where you don't get as much of the humanoid features when he's as the bird. So I like the fact that that they kept, when he changes into a bird, he stays pretty much bird like. The only thing that kind of goes with him is his face and sort of his hair. Um, and vice versa when he transforms into other things, because he's a shape shifting god. Um, the there's one story element that we haven't hit yet, and this is the biggest flaw to the writing. And nothing against the writing; it was fun and fine, like I said, but the ocean is a character in itself, and it's an amazing character. It looks brilliant. They did a great job rendering the water and having it play with the skin. The little girl at the beginning, she walks out into the ocean and it twirls her hair, and it's just this like, oh wow, that's amazing. That looks great. Disney did a great job there. They did, but the ocean as a story element is just a get Moana out of the situation type of thing. Like Maui throws her off the boat, and it's like, oh man, that could be a plot twist. That could be she has to survive in the ocean. She meets another character, and then she's able to get back to Maui, and she has this resentment for him. Oh, maybe she'll grow as a character. No, the ocean's gonna pick her up and put her right back in the boat. Oh. Okay. But that's not gonna happen again. Oh yeah, it's gonna happen again and again, and it's it just all of a sudden becomes this like she has this power to move through the waves, but if she can have the ocean help her as a friend, why does she even need a boat? Why when she's trying to leave the island, it's so imperative for her to get past this cape, the coral reef thing, that it's sort of it's this thing. When if she controls the ocean, she's parting the seas here. She could just technically part the seas and walk to the island with Maui. Um, those kind of things where it's like, this is a brilliant, like a visual, it looks great, but it kind of puts a lot of plot holes, and it kind of makes things like, well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Even towards the end, where Maui has to pin up against this volcano god here. Well, she can control the oceans, and she does. She sort of like uses it as a weapon, but I mean, she controls the oceans. Like, I mean, that's huge. So as a story plot, I think that's the thing that whittles a lot of holes in the story immediately, on top of just it being very something we've seen a lot of times. The side characters. I love the chicken. Don't get me wrong. The side characters are fun. Again, it's sort of the weak side of the movie, where the pig, there's no reason. He's only there, and it's funny because he's in all of the promotional materials as this like, oh, this is a cute pig. I'm like, oh, that's fun. This pig will get to go on her adventure with him. No, she doesn't get. The pig doesn't get to go on the adventures. The pig is just there for a pork joke at the beginning, like, oh, we're gonna eat pork, and then the pig's like, huh, and then it runs off, and it's like, okay, that's the only reason why that the character exists, and the only reason why he's on promotional materials is because he looks cute. I mean, the chicken has a lot more of story to him, and the fact that he loves to eat things and he eats the stone. I think they could have played a little bit more on it, but I think that it's still a very good character. I think it's a fun character. He's incredibly stupid. He constantly basically trying to kill himself because he's so dumb. I liked it, but the pig is blah. He's nothing. He's milk toast. And it's just there for marketing materials. The villains were great. I love this fire god at the end. I love the crab guy. Something about me that a lot of people probably don't know is that I love like movies like All Dogs Go to Heaven. It's not a great movie, and even the bad guy's not the greatest bad guy, but I love the big lipped alligator guy, and I love his how he sings and stuff. And this is totally the big lipped alligator. In fact, if anyone watches Nostalgia, the big lipped alligator moment. Because he sings this overly not effeminate song, but he's glamorous and stuff, and he's this big giant creature, and he's almost doesn't know his own strength, but he does know his own strength. And so I love this character. I think that the crab character was really fun, and along with the songs, I think this was a very successful song to the movie. I'll go over the songs in a little bit, too. The villains, though, I had no problem with. I liked them. I thought that they were great, and even Maui's kind of a villain in a certain way, towards parts of the movie. And I think that he plays a great villain in the sense of how arrogant he is. Again, how he kind of leaves her on the island, and sort of how he has to go through he's going through trials, but she's learning from his trials too. So I think that all the villains did a great job in it, and that's a strong part of the movie. We talked about the ocean being a plot point that gets him out of situations. Songs, though. I love the songs in this. I'm not really a person that loves poppy songs. This definitely has a lot of poppy songs, but the reason and my favorite songs are honestly more of the cultural songs when they're going over the oceans and you have this like fun Polynesian singers and stuff. I love it. I think that those are really great songs, and those are my favorite part of the movie. But the pop songs actually don't go that bad because all of them are original, which I love. I hate when movies do a bunch of covers just because they're like, oh well, we have the ability to do all these covers, so we're gonna throw this and this and that, like Shrek. It's like oh, we're gonna cut to this song and then it'll be this other song and it's gonna explain the story through these songs, and it's just like no, how about you just have an actual good story, and how about you write good songs that go with the story that and reinforce your points rather than taking a handful of songs that you like and writing a story around them. Like I feel like sometimes that's how it goes. People like take the songs that they like and will force feed them into the movie just because they want to. A good version example of that being awful is Trolls, and a lot of people may sort of like Trolls at certain points. I don't know, but I don't think anyone can disagree. There's no reason. I think it was the song The Sound of Silence, with Garfunkel, and that's pointless in that movie, completely pointless. So again, I'm babbling on a little bit, sorry, but I think that the songs in this were fun, and I really like the You're Welcome song. It's sort of their big hit, sort of like their Let It Go, and I think it's a lot stronger than Let It Go because of the visuals and the song reinforce each other. The song's all about being arrogant, and it's sort of this full of yourself type of thing, but it also has this poppy sensibility to it, and everything is really fun, and they love, and like in the song it sort of transitions into 2D animation, and you see all the characters kind of going through these little 2D montage things, and I liked it a lot. It does take you a little bit out of what the story's trying to tell you, and it doesn't necessarily reinforce the story altogether, but it gives you a little bit of that character of that he's arrogant. It's written by the same guys that did Hamilton, or the same guy that wrote Hamilton's songs. So I'm not necessarily a huge fan of all of the Hamilton songs, but I definitely think he's strong with the melody. Is really strong in this. So if you like pop music and you like fun music, give it a chance. I think it's worth it. Um, and that's all about I have to say about Moana. I know I've kind of drabbed on a bit. Um, and then I also want to talk about the holidays because I'm not going to get do a holiday episode. I'll be out of town next week. And I was sort of wanted to go over. We last year we did sort of all of our favorite holiday. I think what we said was the holiday movies that we don't tell everyone that we like, but we all like them. Um, and one that I was watching this year, I think this is a movie that I think everyone likes and everyone would get on. But I just recently watched Home Alone. I liked it. I love Home Alone. I think that that's a really fun movie. It's just kind of go over it just for its Christmas aspects. Um, I like the characters. I think that Macaulay Culkin does a good job in the movie. Uh, it's weird seeing Macaulay Culkin again, like young, because you see what how he aged, and then it's like, wow, that kid turns into that guy. But it's sort of interesting to see how people progress through their life. Um, I like the bad guys. I like the slapstick comedy. Home Alone's a movie that's sort of always on my shelf every year. I have to watch that and Home Alone 2. I like Home Alone 2, even though a lot of people are like, oh, Home Alone 2, that was awful. But I like it. I like the slapstick, you know, comedy aspect to it. I like the kid gets left at home and then he has to battle these bad guys. It's done. It's overdone a million times over, but it's done in all the right ways. I love John Hughes movies, like Uncle Buck, and I think he did Breakfast Club too, and I like his movies a lot. It has that aspect to it, but they can definitely go wrong. And in fact, I think he also directed the third one, and the third one is that exact same thing, but all done wrong. I hate when people add in boink and bronk and like little cartoony noises when bad guys get hurt, and because it pulls away from the actual aspect of them getting hurt. In Home Alone, it's right there in the middle line where you feel bad that the people are getting hurt, but it's cartoony enough that you know that they're not dying and this awful death. And so with something like Home Alone 3, it definitely turns that point of like boink and stroink and like these little cartoony noises that it's not doing itself any favors. So I like the movie. I think it's something to recommend. I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, and in at the very end because it is the holiday season. I hope everyone has a happy Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.